Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dakota's Political Circle. And today I wanted to bring up how Alaska's ranked choice repeal measure failed by 664 votes very recently. And this is a very sad thing to see, especially since ranked choice voting in Alaska is a big, it's like a really bad thing for Republicans when it comes to the state. And it's something we really hoped would finally get repealed, and it ended up barely failing. And honestly, this is very, very controversial in a way, like for Alaskans. For Alaskans, a lot like ranked choice voting, a lot don't like ranked choice voting. So it was a very split decision, but it is very surprising to me because if you think about it, a lot of the state, especially like when it comes to like the state in general, like it votes overwhelmingly Republican. But then for some odd reason, when it comes to this measure, it just didn't end up winning, which is very odd, especially for a measure that's very, ranked choice voting is a very liberal ideology and something that's just very liberal-esque when it comes to ranked choice voting. So it's surprising that they wanted to keep it, but it's a very odd thing. But it sucks because I know, like for example, if I just give you an example here, Alaska, in so many ways, when it comes to elections, especially Senate and House, ranked choice voting really screws up a lot of Republican races. I'll actually show you soon exactly what I mean. So having to keep this really sucks, but I will show you there's still hope. There's still hope, but I do want to read some of this for you just to show you how close it really was. So a ballot measure that would repeal Alaska's ranked choice voting and open primary system. And also remember, open primaries are very, very bad for Republicans because when the top two choices are Republican and they take out the third choice, which is a Democrat, in a way that sounds great, it sounds like a great idea. But at the same time, if you have the two top choices as Republican, one's going to be a rhino, one's going to be a hardlined MAGA. And then all of those blue votes that didn't want to vote for the person that was the Democrat, they get to vote for the rhino Republican. So that's the big issue with ranked choice voting. So the final margin was actually no outpacing yes by 50.1% to 49.9%. So it was a very, very close margin, which really, really sucks. It had to be like that. And obviously, yes on the ballot at the end of the election night counting was actually leading. And then no actually overtook it Monday by a razor thin margin. So like a very, very small margin. No was actually able to take it over, which really sucks. Now the race is likely headed to a recount, which I'll actually show you in a second. Which is actually a very good thing. If it does head to a recount, it is a very good thing because it is a very close race. It can go either way if it goes to a recount because look right here, over like possibly 300,000 people voted for this measure, and usually when it comes down to that, if it's only 600 that make the difference, there could be a significant shift. It's very possible. This isn't like 10,000 people voted or like 50,000 people voted. No, over 350,000 people voted in this measure, so it can definitely shift one way or the other. And the state must pay for them in races won by less than 1.5%. Not really much has been talked about in this. It's mainly just talking about it specifically, but it did fail. And I do want to show you exactly why it failing is a bad thing for Republicans. So if you look right here, so this was in 2022. This is not the biggest significant difference, but I'll show you exactly why. So in 2022, Alaska at large the special election that happened. So Mary Peltola, Sarah Palin, and Nick Bajich were all in the first round. And obviously Bajich, I wouldn't call him a rhino. I'm not going to say Bajich is a rhino because he's really not. But I would say he was rivaling Sarah Palin a lot here. And a lot of people were split between Nick Bajich and Sarah Palin. So when it came to the first round, Mary Peltola and Sarah Palin, basically Mary Peltola won the first round. So that was, and also Nick Bajich was the last one here. But then when you look at the final round, this is the most depressing thing here. If you look at the final round right here, you see that Mary Peltola won 51% to Sarah Palin's 48% because Nick Bajich got out. But a lot of Nick Bajich supporters actually put a lot of a lot of people like actually put a lot behind Mary Peltola's support. So it ended up making Sarah Palin lose. So that was a significant thing. And obviously this was the special election. I'll also show you what happened in the actual election as well. But basically, because of Nick Bajich, Sarah Palin lost. Sarah Palin didn't win. Sarah Palin was the MAGA candidate on this list, but because of open primaries, a lot of those supporters from Nick Bajich literally went to Mary Peltola because of ranked choice voting. Now, not all of them did, because you can see the race tightening here. You see how much the race tightened. But if almost all of Nick Bajich's supporters went to Sarah Palin, she would have won. And then let me show you the actual election. Obviously, because of ranked choice voting, all three get to be on the ballot still. But if you look at the first round, it was Mary Peltola 48 to Sarah Palin's 25 to Nick Bajich's 23. So basically, more support went to Mary Peltola after a while. But either way, because of Nick Bajich and how he is and his supporters are, when it came to the next round, there were a lot that did go to Sarah Palin. You can see how much went to Sarah Palin. Like a significant amount did go to Sarah Palin, but some also went to Mary Peltola. So that meant that obviously Mary Peltola ended up winning. So it is really depressing to see that, because that is exactly what happens when ranked choice voting happens. Now in 2024, it was a little bit of a different scenario. Nick Bajich ran unopposed, like no Republican ran against Nick Bajich in the open primary with Mary Peltola. So Nick Bajich ended up beating Mary Peltola because there was no third candidate. It's mainly when there's more candidates on the ballot. When there's more candidates on the ballot, you get more suggestions based on your ranked choice. Like when you do ranked choice, you go from what you want your top pick to be, what you want your second pick to be, what you want your third pick to be, and so on. And after that, when there's only two options on the list, it makes ranked choice voting not matter. It doesn't really matter too much. But when it matters to certain candidates, like very Rhino-esque candidates, and you're trying to put a MAGA candidate in there and get them primaried, you can't, because it's an open primary. But luckily, Nick Bajich did end up winning this year, because he was running against no one, basically, against the Republicans. So there was no three-way. But if you look right here, this is the biggest reason why ranked choice voting sucks. So Lisa Murkowski, probably one of the most Rhino Republicans in the entire Senate, almost always wins her election. And she was finally about to get rivaled over an actual, like a MAGA candidate actually was running against her finally. And which was great, a great thing. But the thing that sucks is, if you look at the first round here, Lisa Murkowski did win by 43 to 42 of Kelly Tshibaka. Remember, Kelly Tshibaka was the MAGA candidate. And then there is the Democrat, which was 10% here. But because of ranked choice voting, this wasn't a primary. This was a general election. So there was no closed primary. If there was a closed primary that actually happened in the state, most likely it would have been razor thin like how it was here. It might have even, honestly, Kelly Tshibaka actually probably would have had a better shot if it was just a primary. But since it's an open primary, it makes it more difficult. That's the problem here. That's the biggest problem here. Remember, open primaries, you can have Dems vote in, you can have independents vote in, you can have anyone. When it comes to closed primaries, you only get to have your party. So if Lisa Murkowski actually had a closed primary with Kelly Tshibaka, most likely Kelly Tshibaka would have ended up winning, and Lisa Murkowski would have been out of there. But the depressing thing here is Alaska doesn't have that. They have open primaries, they have ranked choice voting. So since there was no closed primary, it was basically open. So that meant anyone could vote for Lisa Murkowski, anyone could vote for Kelly Tshibaka, anyone could vote for Pat Chesbrough. So majority of the Democrats definitely voted for Lisa Murkowski here. That's why she won in the first round. But then there were some that wanted Pat Chesbrough. But obviously with ranked choice voting, when it came to the final round, it came down to two Republicans. One, a major Rhino that has been there for years, and then the other, a new MAGA candidate, Kelly Tshibaka. And then if you look at it here, basically almost every single Democrat from the 10% voted for Lisa Murkowski. That's why Kelly Tshibaka ended up losing by a significant amount. That's the bad thing about ranked choice voting here, and also open primaries. It's mainly because Dems can vote over, independents can vote over, everything in between can vote over in the Republican primary. I mean, in the Republican, like for the Republican candidate, because there's no primary period. But there are obviously some instances that it makes it better, like I just showed you, like how Nick Bajich did win, but it doesn't like show like a significant thing, like, oh, Nick Bajich won even with ranked choice voting. That doesn't mean ranked choice voting is a good thing. It just means that he won because no other candidate got added to the list. But that's basically an example to show you why ranked choice voting sucks in the state of Alaska. But now to show you guys some good news. So on Alaska's GOP Twitter, if you look right here, they're officially requesting a statewide recount and review of the election results for ballot measure 2, the repeal and ranked choice voting from 2024 general election. So there will be a recount. No matter what, there will be a recount. But I wouldn't get your hopes up too much because it is over 600 votes. If it was way closer, within like 50 or 100, I'd be more optimistic. But you don't know how those extra votes are going to go. Like, those extra votes could go to Dems, they could go to Republicans. You just don't know how those extra votes are going to go. And also, it's over 600 votes. But I do hope when it does end up getting counted, I hope it shrinks. I hope the lead starts to shrink. Because we really need ranked choice voting out of Alaska. It's just a shame that so many Republicans in Alaska wanted to keep ranked choice voting. That's just a depressing thing to see. Because overwhelmingly the state voted for Trump. But for some weird reason, for the ranked choice voting, they really didn't want to push it as much, which is something they significantly need, especially if they want to get the liberal Lisa Murkowski out of the Senate, because that would literally be the only way they can get Lisa Murkowski out, unless way more people somehow voted her out during the actual general when a Democrat's on the list, which is highly unlikely because of how I showed you right here. With the Dem in there, it makes it a 53-46. So it just makes it so much harder to win and get a rhino out of there. And Lisa Murkowski is probably the most liberal Republican senator you have, other than Susan Collins. The only reason I don't say Susan Collins should be taken out is because Susan Collins is in a state that will never have a MAGA Republican. In a state like Alaska, there is a massive chance you can have a MAGA Republican in that state. It's just very easy to get it in that state if you don't have ranked choice voting, that is. But with Lisa Murkowski, it's just the only reason she wins is because of that. That's literally the only reason Lisa Murkowski wins at all. But anyway, guys, I did want to talk to you guys about that today. Alaska is going to be doing a recount, though. That's the big thing here. They are going to be doing a recount, and hopefully it does go in the yes favor. But we'll see. I really don't have too much of my hopes up because the final results already came in. But you never know what could happen. But it is scheduled for November 30th, so it is very soon. So remember that. I'm hoping it goes to the yes column, but I just don't see it ended up happening. But anyway, guys, I just want to talk to you guys about that today because there wasn't really too much else to talk about. I have another video actually coming up too. It'll actually be talking about Trump's tariffs on China. I mean, not on China. On Mexico and Canada, and how Mexico and Canada are responding to them because Trump's talking about tariffs and stuff like that. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to talk about it. I'm a little bit late to the party here, though, because I'm about 6 days late from this article. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please follow the channel. I always try to get out content as much as I can. I'll also be doing a video on Trump's cabinet once he is finished with picking his cabinet. I believe he only has 3 more picks he needs to make, and then I'll make a video on it. I'm going to do an in-depth video, by the way, so I'll be doing an analysis on each and every pick. I already have a Word document set up so I can talk about each pick individually and how I feel about each pick, and also the ones that already backed out and stuff. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.